Hey, hi. Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner, senior film writer for Now Magazine, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Montreal writer and director Katherine Jerkovic, whose terrific Roads in February won the award for Best First Feature at TIFF last September, was named to Canada's Top 10 at the end of the year, and is screening right now at the TIFF Bell Lightbox. A tiny, delicate drama starring Arlen Aguayo-Stewart as a young woman from Montreal and Gloria Damasi as the grandmother she visits in a small village in Uruguay. It's one of those perfectly realized debuts that works best when you're locked in a small, dark space with it. You should go and see it. Katherine picked L'Intruder, or The Intruder, Claire Denis' dense, impressionistic 2004 drama starring Michel Subor as a man in need of a heart, quite literally, and the impact his quest has on everyone around him. But even that description implies a conventional narrative, and The Intruder is not that at all. As Wesley Morris wrote in the Boston Globe, it isn't about. It's an experiential drama, deliberately distant and emotionally minimalist, a flood of images and tones laid out in a progression that can be deciphered, but maybe shouldn't. You just have to accept what's happening and see where it leads. Obviously, there will be spoilers. Oh, and a note about the sound. We recorded this episode in a meeting room in the Lightbox on the hottest, most disgusting day of the year, so the air conditioning was going full blast, and we couldn't turn it off. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. I fiddled with the audio as best I could. Anyway, this is Someone Else's Movie.
Well, I mean, when you told me that it was about, a filmmaker, in my case, talking about a movie that was important in your life or in your career, I thought of The Intruder, L'Intruder. It came like alone because it's really a movie that was a big inspiration for me, and I don't think I'm exaggerating if I say that I have taken the chance to work in feature fiction because I've seen that movie. Wow. I think that when I saw L'Intruder, to me it's a monument. It's a magnificent film in every aspect, and I don't think that I will ever make a film that is so strong and so free. There's a freedom, a formal freedom, a narrative freedom, it's. I think that's the first thing that I found striking about it, that it was so free, and it's an expensive movie. There are it's a co-production, I think. Yeah, there are many producers. All over the world. Yeah, she shot in several countries. There's a great cast. It's shot in 35 millimeters. It's long. There are lots of locations. As a filmmaker, you see the movie and you see the money it cost, right? Yeah. So I don't know if I will ever have the chance to have access to that type of money, but yeah, I think because I feel I owe to this film that I sat down and wrote a couple of features, and that I saw the possibility of making a film that has a real drama, but that the narrative can be so free and unexpected, and that also has very, very sensual and very strong, very sensorial visuals. Mm-hmm. Mise en scène, the camera work, the closeness to the body, the way, this link between the spiritual and the physical, and I think it's really, to me, it's a monument. But it's the kind of film that it's complex. It may feel a little bit, like a puzzle, like a loose puzzle. Yeah. It may feel a little bit misleading. But when the days following the screening, I mean, after you've seen it, it's all the elements resonate, and in the end, and I like that freedom too. And I think it takes a lot of talent to make a film that not every viewer will understand it in the same way. Some will not really even understand it in the linear way. Mm-hmm. But the themes and the philosophy of it, the essence of it comes across. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it took me, I think it wasn't until I saw it a second time that I really...
It's very complex.
But I also allowed myself,
Uh-huh.
because you know what you're going to see on a repeat viewing, even if you don't fully understand how it all fits together, your brain isn't working ahead the same way you are when you experience a narrative for the first time.
Yeah.
So this time, the second time through, which was maybe, I'm going to guess 4 months after I first saw it,
Okay.
I would have seen it at TIFF and then nothing. It didn't open right away. So it wasn't until I got the chance to catch up to
Okay.
it again that I could watch it and start to understand, because the rhythms are so elusive. Not elusive with an A, but elusive in that you are not allowed to understand everything at once. And just watching the pieces slot into each other on second thought, on second experience, it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I understand why he's doing this. Is that okay? What about this? And watching it with an audience the second time and hearing them kind of go and process it at different points than I was processing it was just, I love that about Denis. She's still doing that with, even with High Life, she's frustrating the audience in a completely different fashion.
Yeah.
But she's making sure that we aren't just casually watching her film. We have to pay close attention all the time.
Yes, but I feel The Intruder, it's so strong in the sensorial sense that it's almost like a physical experience that you live.
Yeah.
That even if you're not the type of viewer who's always paying attention to details and trying to decrypt the narrative, you still get a lot out of it, I think that she's always destroying cliches, destroying expectations.
I just like the idea that she always proceeds from, apparently, in every film, she doesn't necessarily believe that the protagonist of her film is someone that we should like or sympathize with. And
that's great.
In this film, this is a man who gives nothing back.
Yeah, exactly. He takes
to us, to the co-stars, to the world. He's remote. The first time I saw it, I was pretty sure he was the intruder. That's the intruder of the title. That it's not the people who are attacking him. That it's not
the heart that he's going to receive.
It's just him. He emerges into people's lives and take my dogs. I want you to take my dogs. It's just that weird demand but he does that with everyone. He's I want a young heart. I don't want an old person. I don't want a slow person.
And I don't mind. I don't care how you're gonna find this heart. Just get it from me.
Yeah, he just barges into everyone
else's
else's
and then there
lives.
is this kind of contradiction, which is so. It resonates with what we see in people around us. This contradiction where he has a son that lives nearby, and he sort of ignores it and doesn't really cares about his grandchildren, but then he's ready to go to the other end of the world to look for a son that he never met, right? That he thinks that was born out of a liaison he had with a woman, and but in the end he gets what he deserves, right?
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. But I like a lot. I think the for instance, this character that you're right, it's not very pleasant. There is a scene where he's with his dogs, and he has a lot of affection for the dogs, and he embraces the dogs, and the way it's shot, he's naked. He came from a river, like only Claire Denis would do that, like an aging man naked embracing like these beautiful dogs. I don't know what race they are, but like.
Oh, they're huskies or Samoyeds.
Yeah,
or
like pure.
Dogs.
Yeah, they're like fantastic beasts, and beautiful beasts and so on. But I think it's very strong. The opening is it's very interesting, and in a way that I think it reflects most of her work and the way she is, I guess. It's kind of deconstructing gender stereotypes, because the film opens with this woman, this young woman. She's a
border guard.
Yeah, border guard. I'm just, I don't know. I think this scene, opening a film with this, I think it's so courageous and so like brilliant, because you're right away you're thrown into something that's okay, something real, and she's a border guard and she's pretty and young and has long hair and blue eyes, I think, and all, but she's very kind of mean and authoritarian and controlling and talking in a kind of very aggressive way,
right.
like suspicious.
Except to the dog she's working, and to her dog she's loving and encouraging. Yeah. Yes, good, smell, good.
Yeah, it's true, but I think that this is more of the type the training, to obtain from the dog that he does his job.
It's just such a fascinating contrast because everything in her bearing, as you say, is very serious and very
and you see her and you're like it's a little bit shocking because because again she's young and pretty and by all means she looks feminine, but then she's behaving in this very harsh way and you wonder. And then she gets home, and at home her boyfriend, he's taking care of the babies, and he's like with this camisole, he's like this kind of very sensitive skinny man, and so you go, okay, I see how this goes, this is their dynamic, like he stays at home and takes care of but then she arrives and he starts seducing her and he gets really erotic and she surrenders to him totally.
Yeah, he's very aggressive. Like, it's consensual, but he's very aggressive.
Yeah, physically. He's very, so it's funny because it's like I don't know if it's like 5 minutes or like 10 minutes. You have all this back and forth of stereotypes of genders and what you expect, and it's it's subtle, but it's there, and it takes I don't think you can have this. I think it's very hard to get this script financed here, at least in Quebec.
Maybe, so it's made in 2003, maybe 2004, maybe Adam Egoyan around that time could have done it.
Maybe.
But he's the only filmmaker, or maybe Erkan, but it's not his thing.
No.
But you'd have to have that sort of standing in Canada, absolutely.
Yeah, but today, happen. Like, it's so out of the box, and it's so all over the place, and it's so like, it's almost like wild filmmaking, something really like, and it's sad. I feel it's very sad because we like our authors, we like our like indie filmmakers, but we first of all they don't have to be expensive, but still they're always looking at the scripts in a way that it's it's hard. This is the type of thing you have to hide, and then you do it on the shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you were to tell this story here, you would have to shoot most of the outdoor stuff in Sudbury for the tax breaks.
Maybe.
Right, where it's cold and you can get away with it, or North Bay, wherever we have a studio.
I'll take note of that.
Yeah, there must be something in northern Quebec that works. But Sudbury and North Bay have this huge, the Northern Ontario.
Yeah, but I mean the confidence of the funding agencies to say, okay, this is a very special movie, and it's for like very special viewers, and we're gonna like put like 2 million into this, so you can get it's.
that doesn't happen here.
No. So when I said I didn't have any expectations. I had only seen, when I saw The Intruder, I had only seen her first feature, which is absolutely not representative of what she's done after, which is very funny. It's Chocolat, which is lovely, beautiful, very strong. I mean, you recognize Claire Denis, but it's not. I feel it's not.
No, it's much lighter, isn't it?
It's lighter.
It's much happier, I think, than most of her cinema.
And it's way more accessible, also in the narrative, in the everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I went to see this just because there was a retrospective on her work at Cinémathèque in Montreal. Had no idea what I was expecting. It was 2005 or 2006. See, it didn't even make it to the theaters. It opened in a retrospective at the Cinémathèque. And I see this and I'm like blown away. I'm like holy, how can she do this? So it was like, I said, oh wow, maybe I can make film.
That's wonderful. How old would you have been?
Late 20s? Late 20s, yeah. I had been working short films and mostly experimental films and video art and a little bit of short fiction.
So you were just right in the pocket to receive that.
Yes, exactly. But this really hit the right chord.
Yeah, I think I'd seen everything of hers at that point, but it still feels like a breakaway.
Yeah,
it feels like she's just experimenting with how far she can recede from the audience, how much she can withhold and how far back the story can be and how elliptical it can be in the storytelling. And then just, those characters we've been talking about are not the leads. They're peripheral, but we spend all this time with them and then we're just thrust away.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that, you can also think that these two characters, they are in a way the effect of the main character.
Sure, yeah.
Because he's his son, and the type of man he is has to do with the type of father he's had, and the type of father he is has to maybe compensate for the father he didn't have. So it's but this freedom, on the narrative level, and I insist on the formal level too, because it's just it's just gorgeous. You have these scenes like when the dogs are running after him with his, like, I think it's Tinder sticks doing the music, and you're like in a kind of trance, and then you land in a very at some point you land in a very exotic place.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't know where you are. At some point she's, I think, in China or Korea.
Korea, I thought it was.
And then it's Tahiti, and then it's like.
And he's always the same. Even
he's
with
always
the new heart, nothing has changed. He's the same person.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be our center, our focus, but he gives us nothing. And so you just
exactly. So you're just looking at what he does to other people and how these other people are affected by him. Yeah,
and it's, again, the question I always end up asking filmmakers and when I'm talking to them about their movie is, when did you know this would work? When did you realize this could work as a story? And I have to believe she knew from the very beginning this is how it would have to be, that form dictates function, because you can't just find this in the editing room. There's no way you could create this after the fact.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
There's a deliberateness. There's a deliberateness to all of her films, but this one, more than any other one, just feels like there's no margin for error. She knew what she was doing with the directing of the actors and with where the camera's placed and how close or how far, and the animal actors are even on the page somehow. All the dogs get it. I don't know how that works.
And that Beatrice Dalle character, just with wearing this fur and coming out of her nap, I think. And saying,
just impatient.
Your dogs are like you. Get the hell out of here with your dogs.
Yeah, and we never really understand what that means because the dogs look so nice.
Yeah, well, because I think she knows him very well. But,
I think.
And I think the casting is, I like a lot Claire Denis casting. Her characters are very charismatic. They are never beautiful by the usual standards. I'm thinking of the lover of the main character. She works at a pharmacy. Pharmacist. She's like I don't know how you say it in English.
Yeah, pharmacist.
She's a pharmacist. She speaks very soft, and she seems like the sweetest woman on earth, and she has all these freckles, but like very, very intense freckles. The kind of visage that you would think, wow, how she has to be courageous to want to be an actress with such a special, beautiful but very special. Yeah. So her casting also is amazing. I think all the choices are so uncanny in this movie, I find.
Yeah. And the whole effect is that you've just spent, you spend 130 minutes in somebody else's life. You've disconnected completely.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And we don't really know anything more than we did when we came in, at least not on first viewing, and then you have to decipher it. And I read some of the American and Canadian reviews to catch up, just to wonder how people.
I didn't
really read them at the time. Some people are puzzled in an interesting. They want to know more, or they want to know less, and they would have preferred to have even less of an experience.
Okay.
There was one review that pointed out the physical symmetry of how the scar on his chest lines up with the freckles on her back at one point, and how that's an image. I missed that one completely.
Yeah, me too.
I have to say I did not see it, but I can acknowledge that it's there. But I think that's it too, because the absolute lack of a what's the term, of a guide track. We don't have anything to hold on to, so our minds can go wherever we want.
Yeah.
And it becomes this. David Lynch does it I think.
Yes,
as well.
but David Lynch has. Yes, it's true. It does.
But his stuff is very specific to him.
Yeah, it's more controlled. Like you really feel that he knows where he's going. And I like Claire Denis because, I suppose she relies a lot of intuition. I mean, she obviously has very elaborate and tight scripts, but then on set she probably, because it works. But like you said, you have the impression that it works, that it was close to not working, but it works. Yeah. But I don't think this is right. I think that it's just the type of talent she has, this kind of intuition and yeah.
She knew it would land. She could feel her way through it.
Yeah. Well, I think I would not doubt that it would land. It's funny that you bring that up, because there are a lot of very strong elements. There's the Russian woman chasing after him, the fact that the heart, well, there's a lot of spoilers here, of course.
Sure.
The fact that the heart he ends up receiving is from his own son. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of very strong things. And I think that there's a lot of coherent, not maybe in the terms of storyline where you can be puzzled and you can be lost. I think there's a lot of coherence in the more essential philosophical issues.
Mm-hmm.
And
although I think it's structured for that.
Yeah.
Maybe if nothing else, it's pointing
exactly.
us towards
And
those.
It's actually inspired by, I don't know,
A novel, yes, written by
It's not a novel, it's a philosophical essay by a French philosopher called Jean-Luc Nancy, which I like a lot.
Have you read it? I never did.
I read the essay. It's very hard to understand if you don't have a good understanding of phenomenology. He's a philosophy specialized in, this is the branch that he, phenomenology, mm-hmm. which makes sense because it has to do with, it's connected with cinema in a way. How you are impact.
The cause and effect.
Yeah, and the impact of things. But so Jean-Luc Nancy is a French philosopher who wrote a lot of philosophy about art as well, about listening, audio, and audio art as well. And he's kind of a poet of philosophy. And he had a heart replacement being quite young, actually. With when you have a quite young, I don't know exactly, but not the usual age for like a serious heart problem.
Okay.
And I think his life expectancy, even with the new heart, was limited, and he's been living for like 30 years with the new heart. He's like a miracle. And obviously this experience has influenced his thinking. And so he wrote this short essay. I read it at the time when I saw the movie, and to be honest, I didn't get most of it. I do like some of his writing, I do understand, but this one was very special. So again, like, you wonder how from that she went to the movie, but it's again this kind of like huge freedom and just intuition based. But yeah, the new heart intrusion.
Is thematically, does it line up? Did you feel? Did you see the connection between the two, or are they separate entities?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, not really. No. I think it's more like she was inspired by his reflection, and then she wrote the script.
Okay, I thought it was I didn't realize it was an essay. I thought it was sort of a semi-autobiographical memoir or novel. But that's actually more interesting.
Yeah, but it's a text, highly philosophical.
Yeah, that you would just
not like
find
a story.
this and decide to build a story around it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that explains why it's so elliptical, because they're just fragments and pieces that
probably
you can stitch on.
I don't know. I think she just, I don't know. She just went wild. She just said, I'm gonna really do what I want to do, and it's gonna be intense, and it's gonna be pure emotion, pure feeling, pure music, pure image, pure bodies. I don't know, all this, almost as if the narrative is an excuse.
Yeah, he just wants to explore the
and talk
idea.
About all these resonances of the
I think that's when she's at her strongest as a filmmaker, when she just has something that she's picking at.
Yeah.
And the story around it is just like Trouble Every Day, where it's really just an excuse to explore the flesh, the carnality, and what that means.
Yeah, or Beau Travail, Beau Travail, it's the plot, it's one line, it's very, but yet it's great because it's about trahison, how do you say this? Betrayal between men, which in a something that you would, again, this gender, she's always exploring these gender stereotypes, because the type of betrayal that the commander does to his younger soldier, it's it's one that you would say between women, it's silly, it's jealousy, it's
simple cruelty.
But it's based on jealousy. It's almost like a soap type of situation.
I think the biggest joke of that film is that it's true, but it's still funny that she could walk around and say, oh, it's based on Melville, it's Billy Budd. And it's, no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. That's
It is if it was more, if it was Gossip Girl by way of Billy Budd, but the idea that it is just, it's literary, so you have to take it seriously. I'm pretty sure she was kidding, but everyone believed it, and so it became this, it's a very serious literary adaptation, and you look at it, it's like, well, yes, but it's also about pure emotion and physical motion and bodies.
Exactly.
And simple rage.
Exactly.
And so is Salope, so Bastards, really.
I haven't seen
Bastards. It's about cruelty, ultimately, and what people are willing to inflict on their own and their family, their flesh. It's not bad, but it's very, very ugly.
Very ugly,
very intentionally.
I'm not sure
High Life is similarly cruel, but also detached, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's special. There's a coldness about it, coldness about it. But I think, Beau Travail, you have the cruelty, but among the soldiers you have complicity, you have friendship, male friendship.
The idea of brotherhood.
Yeah.
In a unit.
Yeah, it's nice.
Possibility of attraction, but not really.
Yeah, exactly. Like always, what I like is that she's always acknowledging the complexity of things, complexity of human beings, relationships, desire. All these things are always, they have many facets, many faces, many aspects to it, and also contradictions, and they are changing, and they change depending on the context. So I really like that she and this is difficult to do, that she managed to make movies where it feels like she's not simplifying anything for the viewer, and yet it's not so obscure, it's you get it, but
it's true, she doesn't get in the way of the emotion, but she's also not foregrounding it. It's just there. And that means we have to concentrate on the relationships.
And I try to do that too. I don't like movies that are like openly trying to reach your emotions. I try more to concentrate on the emotion of the actors and the characters. But I don't like when I watch a movie and I feel that that they are trying to kind of make me cry or make me feel this or that. I like when there is space between me and the film, so that I can invest the film and I have this distance where I can judge for myself. And I think that most mainstream cinema doesn't allow for this space. It's as if they are afraid of you start thinking now. You're starting
to lose the audience.
Yeah, but it's not losing it. It's kind of leaving the audience, like trusting the audience that they can have a judgment and that they can choose whether they engage with this scene or not, and so on. And I think that she has that, like, it's very. There is a lot of room for the viewer, for the audience. And
well, the thing that struck me the most about Roads in February was simply that you establish a premise where the characters have to sit with each other, just physically exist together because there's nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Exactly.
And that uncomfortable feeling that you haven't connected properly,
Uh-huh.
where people, a mainstream comedy they'd start trying to do stuff, there'd be physical business, there'd be something for the actors to do, and instead we just watch who they are together.
Yeah.
And it's something that doesn't happen very much anymore in Canadian cinema. It just isn't about waiting, right? It's about movement.
Yeah.
And your film is just
and a lot about talking.
Yeah.
And using a lot the dialogue as a vector for information. And
no, here, I mean, it's just as important to watch someone prepare dinner.
Yeah, exactly. It says a lot about the person, about how she feels with regards to the other person, and so on. Yeah, what I like the most when I'm on a set. What I like the most is observing, really, and I find it's very interesting to see how the different persons, especially the actors, the DP, the art director, how they appropriate what you've been writing for years, and they interpret it and what they do with it. And I don't go and give directions and instructions too much. I like watching. I think that really observing. It's very nice to take the time to observe and see because you discover things that sometimes are more interesting than what happen if you go straight and say, okay, do this, do that.
Yeah.
So I like observing, and I think that the Rhodes character, it's a lot about the main character. It's a character that's trying to understand and observing also. And the whole film, it's about
She's a photographer, so she has that already in her.
But she's more like she's a kind of amateur photographer. Yeah. So
she's learning to see.
Yeah. But it's Anyway, so that the Intruder was a shock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the final question on the podcast is also always the same. So, is there something in the Intruder or in Denis' work that you've incorporated yourself, or consciously or unconsciously, tried to borrow?
I don't know, because
the love of the sun seems to be part of it.
The sun, but it's not going to be so present in my next film. So it's.
There were some shots in Rhodes in February that sort of struck me as resembling white material a little bit. But
maybe I was told that about a short I made before Rhodes, that it felt like a Claire Denis movie, and I hadn't. My editor said that, and I had never mentioned Claire Denis yet, and I was like, oh, you've just you're just telling me like the best thing, the best compliment. To be honest, I wish I could say yes, I've incorporated, but I don't know. I think that's not up to me to judge. I try to, especially her early work, like Intruder, Beau Travail, even Chocolat.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have this presence of the senses, the sensorial. But it has a lot to do with her DP, She collaborates with Anne Godard, the director of photography, was like amazing, and the two together, they are just like a fantastic team, So
there is a quality that's uniquely that I recognize in a shot now, and maybe it's just the combination in the older films of the grain and the light and the skin, but they do something with flesh.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Is immediately, that's a Claire Denis shot. That's
exactly, the bodies, the flesh, the exactly.
Yeah.
And the movement of the body, the way the body is in the frame, it's in the space. There's something that is very strong, that I like a lot. I don't think I haven't done it in Rose. I don't think it was justified. It was not the right kind of language for this movie. But I don't know. It's just inspiring.
I mean, it's something to have. It's good to have a guiding artistic sort of presence.
Yes.
Aspirational.
Yes, it's incredible. Like she's not known. She would deserve to be like so much more, not widely known.
Yeah.
Because the thing also is that you don't have really that many women filmmakers who have had like a 20 years career or 30 in her
30
case,
now,
30
yeah.
and shooting every 2-3 years. You know, I mean, who gets this? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, just realizing how
Takes a
many
lot
films
of
there
passion, you know, and a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, I managed to miss Let the Sunshine In.
Yeah, I missed it too.
I just bought it. I just got the Criterion disc, and
okay.
I'm looking forward to it now. Even though I've already seen High Life, I have to go back and catch up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those pleasures that you could look
Yeah.
forward to. You know, I have 2 hours of a new Claire Denis somewhere down the line.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a candy waiting for you, like a little treat.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, but that's amazing, you know. It's I think that every 2-3 years she makes a new fiction, a new feature. It's like, wow. So it's and it's not accessible work, and it's not for everybody, and it's it's not predictable, and so she's really, she's a big inspiration.
Oh, good. I mean, yeah, it's certainly a career to aspire to, if nothing
Yeah.
else, to just be that prolific. And
and it's funny because she made her first film quite late. She was 40, I think, 39, 40.
I think that's right.
So she spent a lot of time like kind
Figuring it out.
and helping other filmmakers. She was first assistant. So
That's right. She was
she
on
worked with Wim Wenders, with
and
Jim Jarmusch.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, you know. It's and I do feel that women, when they do their first feature, they tend to be older than guys, and it tends to be more mature work. And so it's interesting. I think everyone should look at these films.
Yeah. And maybe take their time making their first.
Yeah, take the time. Yeah. You know, time is our gold. You know.
Yeah.
Our fortune, or for our work to mature, you know, the time is really important.
My thanks to Katherine Jerkovic, whose excellent first feature, Roads in February, is playing right now at the TIFF Bell Lightbox in Toronto. If you're in town, see it. Thanks also to Nagar Hatami and Caitlin Garvey. They know what they did. Catherine's not on Twitter, and neither is her movie, and just to make things extra difficult, The Intruder doesn't seem to be streaming anywhere at the moment. There's an out-of-print Wellspring DVD that you can find used at various online stores, though, and hopefully this means Criterion is working on a new edition. They've been pretty good with Denis stuff. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Norm Wilner, and elsewhere on the internet at nowtoronto.com. You can also find this podcast on Twitter at Semcast, S-E-M-Cast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. If you feel like leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you enjoy the show, that would be greatly appreciated. Every little bit helps. It truly does. Oh, and check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network. They're pretty good. Thanks for your support, and thanks for listening. See you next week.